Here are the answers to Science ACT Passage 1. Before we look at the answers to this passage, take a moment to review the passage. This passage is a research summaries passage, as you will note by seeing Study 1 and Study 2. This tells us that we're going to look at two different things in this passage. Here is Table 1. This is what we're looking for Study 1. Let's go ahead and draw our trend lines on here. I'm going to draw it from the smallest to the largest number. So I see a trend line there. These are the trends that are directly proportional. These two are inversely proportional. If you didn't write these on your graph, go ahead and write them now. This is Table 2 that correlates with Study 2. Again, we're going to draw our trend arrows from the smallest number to the largest number. These three are directly proportional, and these two are inversely proportional. Question number 1, which of the following factors was varied in Study 1? This is a details question. So if we go back to the passage and we read through Study 1, we see that they have measured at specific distances. So the thing that we're changing, the variable that we change, is the distance from the power plant. So, answer choice A. Question number 2. Carbon monoxide is another gaseous byproduct associated with coal-burning power plants. If carbon monoxide levels behave like the sulfur gas levels in Study 2, one would expect that carbon monoxide levels would, our answer choices are increase, be higher, decrease, or be lower. So if we go back to Study 2, first off, this is a pattern question. If we go back to Study 2, we see that as our distance gets larger, our sulfur levels get smaller. They're inversely proportional. So if our carbon monoxide were acting like sulfur, it would also decrease. So if I come back to my question, I see answer choice H. It would decrease as the distance from the power plant increases. Question 3. According to Study 1, kaolinite levels are the highest at what distance from the cemetery? This is a detail question. It's just looking for the highest number. So I go back to Study 1. I find kaolinite. I find the highest number, and then I go over to the distance. So my distance is 0. The closer to the cemetery we are, the higher it's going to be. So I come back to my question. The levels will be at the highest when they are less than 100 meters. Question 4. According to the results of Study 2, as the distance from the power plant decreases something, we're going to underline the word decreases. All of the trend lines that we've been drawing on our data have been increasing. They've been going from the smallest number to the largest number. This question is asking for us to look at it from the largest number to the smallest number. So we need to pay attention to small words like that. This is a pattern question. So we're going to bring up the data from Study 2. And instead of drawing our lines from smallest to largest, we're going to draw our trend line here from largest to smallest. So these three are directly proportional. They're going in the same direction. And these two are inversely proportional. They're going in the opposite direction. So now we're going to go through each answer choice. Okay, so as the distance from the power plant decreases, sulfur levels decrease. So here I have my levels decreasing from the power plant, and over here I have my sulfur levels increasing. So if I go in that same direction, I'm increasing. So this tells us that answer choice F is incorrect. Answer choice G, sulfur and NO2 levels increase. So as I'm decreasing, right, so as I go from 400 to 0, my NO2 and sulfur levels are increasing. That's correct. So that's our correct answer. But we're going to go through every answer choice here to make sure that that's correct. Are our NO2 and O2 levels decreasing? No. If you notice these two levels, they're different, so you can't combine them together. And then J, CO2 and O2 levels are increasing. If we come over to CO2 and O2, we notice that in that direction, they're both decreasing. So those answer choices are both incorrect. Okay, question 5, our final question for this passage. According to the results of study 1, as distance from the cemetery increases, feldspar decay increases, decreases, or stays the same. This is a pattern question. So we're going to look at our table from study 1. Now we're drawing our trend line from smallest to largest distance because we're looking at distance increasing. The common mistake that somebody is going to make is to look at the actual trend here of feldspar and say that it's increasing because we've had our trend lines that are going in that same direction. My question is asking for decay, so I should be comparing before the rain and after the rain. So we're going to cover up these two right here because we don't actually care about those two sets of data. And we're just going to look at the difference from before the rain and after the rain. So when we're the closest to the cemetery, the distance that we're getting, or the amount of feldspar that we're getting, is 1.1. That's how much we're decaying, grams per foot cubed. And then as we get further away, we see a smaller amount of decay to 0.1. If you look at the difference between all of those numbers, you'll see that there is a consistent decrease in these numbers, right? Which leads us to answer choice D. Now that you have all the answers and all of the types of questions, spend some time now going over the questions that you missed and trying to see where you went wrong. The best thing that you can do to improve on this section of the ACT is to really dig into the questions that you missed and why you missed them. Okay, tomorrow we will do another passage. That's all for today.